It is All Things Considered HPR. I'm Dave Lawrence, and grateful today. We're learning about a Grateful Dead, Jerry Garcia themed 3-show tour hitting the islands, and doing so with a cat that we've been thrilled to have on the show before, and I've been thrilled to just be around, going all the way back to the late 90s in one of his many cool gigs that he's had. So the tour is called, according to the information I got from their promoter, Mark, How Sweet It Is, and it's celebrating the music, spirit, and legacy of Jerry. And the Jerry Band, it says, during Jerry's birthday week, does not mention the Grateful Dead, but our guest hopefully will flesh that out. They call it the Skeleton Crew All-Star Band, and it's Stephen Inglis from the islands, Barry Sless, Rob Baracco, Wally Ingram, and this fantastic guest returning today, multi-instrumentalist, bassist, keyboardist, guitarist, vocalist, even ukulele player, Pete Sears, who's years in music, Rod Stewart, Jefferson Starship, Hot Tuna, cool stories with Jerry Garcia, Jimi Hendrix. He's told us a lot of stuff, but we'll try to get the very best Dead and Jerry themed stuff. And it's ahead of these shows that are coming up soon. It's Hilo, July 29th at the Palace, Maui, July 30th at Mulligan's on the Blue, and here in Honolulu, in Waikiki at the Blue Note on August 1st. Pete, it is great to have you back with us, and thank you so much. We're really grateful, brother.
Thanks, Dave. Well, it's wonderful to be here.
You're super, super welcome. And now this show, let's start it off with give this thing you're doing some explanation. Try to imagine this, Pete. Try to imagine you're driving in your car and you're listening to us, me and you, yapping away, and perhaps encapsulate for the everyday person who probably 8 to 9 out of 10 of them are not all that familiar with this stuff. Try to give them a little bit of an idea what's in store at these shows that you're going to be doing.
Well, of course, I mean, it's never going to be exactly like it was with Jerry's band or the Grateful Dead, of course, but quite a few of us have had connections with Jerry. I knew Jerry very well, and Barry Sless, the lead guitarist, plays with he's currently playing with Bob Weir's Wolf Brothers, and Wally Ingram has toured with members of the Dead, you know, since Jerry died, and Rob Baracco plays with Dark Star Orchestra, the founding members, and Stephen, of course, has worked with Bill Kreutzmann and does his own, and of course is an amazing slack key guitarist. And so and has worked with Grateful Dead material, and I've, you know, had sat in with them once, and you know, and Jerry played on my, anyway, I'll go into all that, but it's really the spirit of the music. That's how I always look at it, that you know, we're not trying to sound exactly like those guys, but we're sort of intimately familiar with where they're coming from, you know. This sort of a psychedelic, anything goes, you know, going for it sort of approach. And so that's really what we're doing, you know. And we're going to be doing mostly, you know, Jerry's songs that Jerry sang, because it's his birthday celebration, and celebrating Jerry in general, and his whole, you know, it was a very sad loss for everybody, and especially the musical community when he passed so tragically like that. But so we're going to play those songs, and many of the songs, and that he sang, and try to. And hopefully it'll be good.
That's good. Well, I hope it'll be good too, my brother. And backing up for just a little bit of context on those songs. So is it going to be all the Grateful Dead material too that he sang as well? Or is it just the Jerry solo kind of vibration?
No, it'll be both.
Okay, cool.
Jerry Garcia band and Grateful Dead, but
nice.
Really the songs that Jerry sung.
Got it. It just hadn't, forgive me, because I just had seen the one, I was just going on the one little paragraph that Mark had typed up.
At least that's my understanding.
No, I get you. And how sweet it is
Well, I'm just playing in the band. Well, I don't know.
yeah, you know how to do it, whatever it is. That's the good thing about a cat like you. If they throw you, whatever they throw you, you're going to be able to do it.
Hopefully.
Well, I hope so too. But they do call it "How Sweet It Is," which is why I also was thinking, is it more focused?
That Jerry did, there's great iconic songs.
Right.
We're definitely going to include some of those, yes.
Well, before we get into the very cool ways that you got to connect with them personally in terms of meeting them, hanging out with them, playing with them, doing other stuff, do you have your own favorite, Pete, do you have your own favorite Jerry Garcia or Grateful Dead tunes that you like to play?
Well, I really like some of his ballads, like Stella Blue, really, I always think of Jerry when I hear that, or if I'm in a band that's playing it.
Sure.
It was very, it was very dear to him, and I just imagine him up there smiling down, hopefully, and just happy that somebody's doing one of his songs, probably. I mean, Jerry was he would always say to me, that he didn't really know what all the fuss was about. He was kind of humble in that way, he was no shrinking violet, that's for sure, but he was definitely he was very careful to make sure that anything he was working on, any songs or shows, were ready for the audience. He took it very seriously and was very he really wanted to make sure the audience got what they deserved.
Sure.
And
so Stella Blue, what's another one? Is there another really good, another favorite before we get into your relationship with the cat? Is there any other that you just dug watching maybe anytime you watch? Because I'm going to ask you a keyboard question about the Dead next, because they're known for all the keyboardists. But any other final song that you laugh about, you dig, you used to dig, or that you gravitate to?
Yeah, I mean, trying to think of make sure it's one that Jerry sang.
And it could be the covers, like you were talking about How Sweet It Is. They used to do those great Motown covers.
How Sweet It Is, of course, is great, absolutely. I mean, I've been, I was busy working with my own band,
Sure.
and Starship and all that sort of stuff, back in the 70s, and was good friends with those guys, and especially Jerry, and, but...
Didn't listen as much to the stuff.
I saw them. I'd go backstage. We'd go actually on the stage sometimes. Jerry'd have a little tent back there, and and I'd come back and on stage and just hang out, and I mean, I really enjoy the whole everything they represent, and I really enjoyed playing with those guys. I mean, when I said I played with them. I actually was tried out on keyboards with those guys.
Yeah, you told us that one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, it was I wasn't really ready, and I didn't sing, so at that point, so it wasn't really a good fit. But I went down to Front Street and played with those guys, and there's some really. There is a song. So there's a song, one of that really, I really enjoy listening to him sing, is "Mission in the Rain." And I think we're probably going to do that one, but it's a very haunting kind of song, and perhaps it's just in retrospect because I know that he's no longer with us, but yes, it's a very touching, just the feel of the song, the way he sings it and plays it.
Totally, brother. Just you mentioned it.
I'd say that was the other song that really
hits you.
I mean, there's Ramble on Rose and Broke Down Palace. Lazy River Road. That's another good one.
There's all kinds of, when you mentioned some of those, I remember so well that the fall '89 tour, when you sent the Mission in the Rain, there's so many of those jams that I remember very, very well. And the covers that he would do really covered the range of stuff, whether it was doing Jimmy Cliff, Dig when he did The Harder They Come, many, many different times. He would be playing that, Waiting for a Miracle. He covered so many different people.
Yeah, I know what you mean, man.
And
I love reggae. I love reggae. Sitting here in limbo, you know.
Yeah, all that stuff for sure. No, I know you were there then, and so let's turn to the thing and how when we think about the band as an introduction to your relationship with them, and we'll go to Jerry right after this final question. Which of their keyboardists did you know the best of any of those guys who actually were the main guys in the band?
Well, probably Brent, I think, you know.
Nice.
Yeah.
That was my favorite dude. Okay, so that's a great one.
I mean, they're all really good players.
Sure.
You know? They all brought their own thing to the table. But, you know.
Brent was soulful.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I like that high voice he had. You know, that it sort of added.
Oh, and the Hammond B3 and his eyes, man, on those video screens. There was nothing. Can you remember the very first time you met Brett Midland?
I think it was backstage or something, but very glancing. I didn't really know him that well, you know, the other guy, because back in the pretty early period, you know, that was really. I knew Mickey pretty good, you know, and I knew Phil a little bit, but you know how it goes. You're not close friends with everybody in a band. No, you just
absolutely. Well, we'll focus on Jerry. Take us back, if you can remember, the very, very first time, even if it's not when you got to work with him. When did he first enter your life? When did you get to first meet him or something? Tell us any first story with Jerry that you like to reflect on as we get into your relationship with him.
Yeah, well, it was 1970, and I was in a band called Stone Ground, and we were staying in Mill Valley, and we were renting a house there as a band, and somebody introduced me to John Cipollina, and I went to his house, and we really hit it off and became very close friends. And he said he was going to be getting a band together, and ended up being Copperhead. I was in the original early Copperhead with John. But I was with Stone Ground, and we were working on an album. And I also was very good friends with Richard Gossett, who was the KSAN DJ, and when they were over on Sutter Street Studios in San Francisco. And I used to go and hang out with him and just sit there in his studio while he's live, you know, with his playing LPs and things. And he said to me one day, if you can get some musicians together, maybe we could go into the record library and do. You know, they'd never done it before, and do a concert. You know, just do a sort of live broadcast, but very grassroots. You know, nothing heavily organized or anything. They had an old upright piano in the corner of the record library and in the studio. And so I said, yeah, okay. So I went back and told John, and he called Jerry and Bobby, and they came, and we all met at the studio, and we played Silver Threads and Golden Needles and some other classics like that. And Bobby sang and played acoustic rhythm, and John Cipollina played the electric guitar. He played his Gibson, you know, iconic SG, which is now in the Hall of Fame, you know, sitting there behind a glass case, which is very surreal. And John brought his younger brother down who played bass, and that was Mario Cipollina, who ended up in Huey Lewis years later. And I played the old upright piano. You know, this is all live in the studio with just a mic in there. And Jerry played the pedal steel guitar, and it just we did all, and it's a whole live recording of this. It's on the internet. It's all very, you know, people get stuff wrong, you know, guessing as to where maybe it was recorded in Pacific High Recorders. This is the very first KSAN broadcast, and it was very grassroots, as I mentioned. So we were all just in the studio, no rehearsal. We just got together and jammed, and you can hear this stuff. You know, it's good. So that was really amazing because Jerry was very insecure about his pedal steel guitar playing. You know, he always was right to the end of his life. But really, it was amazing. I mean, just all the pedal steel players I speak to really enjoyed his playing. You know, it's because so much is about note selection. You know, really, isn't it? With any instrument,
right?
Of course. And so you know, he played really well, and it sounds really good on the recordings. And I just remember that period. It was the first time I met Jerry, and yeah. And then I was off playing with a Long John Baldry blues band, doing his first blues tour of the United States, playing bass. And I spoke with Jerry from a payphone, and he asked me to come out and play piano on his first solo album, which I couldn't do, of course. And anyway, it's all about timing in this business, you know. And so, yeah, anyway.
No, that's cool. I remember you explained some of that, but then there's this other thing you get. So is that from that gig at KSAN on the radio with Jerry and Bobby and stuff? Is your next thing with Jerry when you guys did the snack benefit in 1975 in Oakland?
Oh yeah, right. That's true. That was a big snack concert. Yeah, I was with Jefferson Starship right at that point, and yeah, we sort of you know, we'd see each other here and there, and there'd be a long periods of time where we don't see each other at all, you know. And but it's like good friends, you know. You just you haven't seen each other for a while, and the close friends just sort of walk into the room and just start talking like they were just left, you know.
What is another gig that you had done in the Bay Area with Jerry? I thought there was another gig in the Bay Area that you had.
Yeah, there is. I was asked to organize the music for the rock and roll music for the Soviet American Peace Walk in 1988 at the band shell in San Francisco.
Okay.
In the Golden Park. And we had everybody that was there. Zero, I asked them to be the backing band, and Jerry and Paul and Grace came down. Grace Slick and Paul Kantner, they all came down. And Mickey Hart, you know, and it was. And Jerry came down with Steve Parrish, you know, and you know, and I was sitting there playing keys on the side of the stage for all the acts, and trying to organize everything as well because we had a curfew. But anyway, Jerry did his set, and that was wonderful. And I think about 20,000 people showed up, and that was probably because Jerry was there, maybe Grace, you know. So anyway, so that was a group of Soviet American citizens.
I remember that.
Soviet citizens who did a peace march across America.
Right.
And it was right near the end of the collapse of the Soviet Union, and they did concerts in each city, and then so when they got to San Francisco, I got the music together. But Jerry, that was in '88, you know. But Jerry played on my solo album, you know, the Watchfire, which is a human rights kind of thing, and Grissman, and then. And what we would do when Jerry finished finished overdubbing on a song called "One More Innocent Dies," Every Time You Close Your Eyes, and a song on the album, he played on that with Barbara Tunji and Mickey Hart and everything. And as he was leaving, Dave Grissman was coming into the studio, and they hadn't seen each other in talked actually in about 15 years or so, but they reconnected. So that's how they ended up doing the Garcia Grissman.
Oh.
Wonderful recordings that they got together, and, you know, That was kind of cool.
Yeah, like you said, it's all about timing. That was really neat,
Yeah.
and the timing of them coming together on your thing. Well, before we wrap it up with you, when we think of your times, because you knew him a bunch of times, let's go away from playing music if possible, only if it's possible. Are there any other hangs with Jerry Garcia that when you look back at his life and think about celebrating him as a person? You know, I saw the Dead 44 times. I saw Jerry solo maybe close to 10 times. And so one of the things I can say to set this up for a story is when you went to see them in the late 80s and you didn't know much about him, it almost seemed like he was dead already because his face was on every single shirt. It was like a religious thing. And he had this big smile and he just looked like this big friendly bear. And so I set it up to say, when you think of Jerry Garcia as a final note or story, just a great story or fun time that you remember doing something with him, could be eating, could be cooking, could be playing frisbee, tennis, swimming, I don't care what it is, just something that you look back at and it shows that big fuzzy happy bear of a guy that you'd see on those shirts.
Yeah, well, yeah, but I just mentioned the first time I actually saw the Dead was in 1970 when I came back with Stoneground from recording in England, and we opened for the Dead at New Year's Eve. So anyway, just letting you know that was the first time. So, but, you know, I guess, you know, with Jerry, I guess, you know, I mean, I was over at his house not that long before he passed away. I think he was still living with Menashe at the time. And, you know, we had you know, we're sitting with my wife Jeanette and Menashe and I and Jerry were sitting around a table just chatting and stuff. And you know, it got quite deep, really. You know, the conversation, and you know, he was definitely he wasn't afraid of death, but he was definitely felt vulnerable, and you know, I know, you know, he was aware that he really shouldn't be working at that point. He should be, you know, he was. I think he was worked at that point, you know, quite hard. Not because somebody was forcing him, but because he felt an obligation to so many people, you know, to keep going. And that was one of the things, I think, you know. But he'd also had this heavy duty vision when he was in his coma, you know, and which I won't get into, but you know, but it was. He was a very sensitive guy, and he had a spiritual side to him, and he was always very ready to do a benefit or help those less fortunate. He was. I mean, there's a lot of cynical writing out there that sort of doesn't. They feel like he was forced to do benefits or felt like he had to, and it's the only reason, which is complete nonsense. You know, he was always the first to you know, oh yeah, every single one I ever asked him to do, he did, you know, and he just really enjoyed humanity. He cared about his fans. He cared about you know, the earth. He did, you know, and anyway, it was very tragic.
Sure.
What happened?
Oh, absolutely. And to have been with him just weeks before or days? How soon before that?
I'm sorry?
How soon before he passed on August 9th of 1995?
Oh, what was the conversation I was talking about?
Yeah.
God, it had to have been, let's see, but not sure. And then he went off with Deborah, right? And then it was, I saw him at Front Street, but briefly when I was doing this thing for Justin Kreutzmann. Yeah, I think it was probably about a year.
Oh, okay. I got it. Okay. Just trying to get a timeline about a year before you were having that.
That long, really. You know.
Okay. Yeah,
I'm guessing, you know, I hadn't really thought about that. So I'm sorry.
No.
Well, it's pathetic. I'm an old man now. Brain never worked that good, but it's definitely diminishing a little bit.
You're still good, brother.
We still go for it, though. You know, it's you know, we do what we can, and I'm really looking forward to these shows, you know, because these great guys to play with.
It's going to be great.
All really great musicians and
Thank you for talking with us today. We really appreciate it. I hope you had fun, Pete. It's going to be huge for you guys. Skeleton Crew All-Star Band, they're calling it. The legendary Pete Sears, who has been with, obviously telling great stories of hanging with Jerry and the gang, but also he's worked with Rod Stewart and Jefferson Starship, Hot Tuna, Hendrix, so many other cats. They are coming up on Friday. They're coming up soon on the 29th at the Palace Theater in Hilo, the 30th at Mulligan's on the Blue, and here in Honolulu at Blue Note Hawaii on August 1st. And giving you a high five, big hug. I hope you feel the gratitude, and I hope you had a good time getting to go over your stories today, brother.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. Appreciate it.
And we'll look forward to seeing you when you get to town. Stay safe, Pete.
You too. All the best.